Hi everyone, welcome back to Legal Quilts. This is an episode that I've been thinking about doing for a while. Probably should have done it as the first one, but we're doing it now. It's basically, what tools do you need to quilt? There's a lot of specialty tools out there, especially rulers, templates, all of this stuff. This is going to be the basics that you really must have and some things that are a really good idea to have. It's going to seem like a lot, but you don't have to get everything all at once. You can pick it up as you go, and you'll find what works for you and what doesn't. This is what works for me and what I like. Take them for suggestions, try them out if you want yourself. Find what works out. There's always alternatives to what I've got. And like I said, there's all this specialty stuff. This is kind of more the basic stuff that you must have and you should have just to make quilting easier. Then you can expand to the other stuff. And again, you don't have to get it all at once. There are going to be affiliate links to buying these things on Amazon for a lot of the stuff. You don't have to buy it through Amazon. In fact, try your local quilt store first. If they don't have it, or you don't have a local quilt store and you can't order from one, remember you can order online from a lot of quilt stores, then go to Amazon. Again, these are affiliate links. I do get paid from Amazon, but if you buy through Amazon in the links, I can continue to keep making these videos, and I do have to have sales to stay an affiliate. But support your local quilt shops first. So the first thing is you're going to be buying all this fabric, which then you cut up into smaller pieces to sew into bigger pieces. So we're going to start with the real basics. You need a cutting mat. What size? I like the really big one, the 36 all the way down to 24. This is a little backwards. It's the way I have it set up. I have mine set up on my sewing table at all times so I can cut anytime I have to. If I'm sewing and I need to cut something, I can just go over, and it makes it so much easier. Now, what do you cut with? We have the rotary cutter. Makes life easier. This is the Martelli left-handed rotary cutter, and like I said, I like this because it has the blade cover that's not a button that I'm always hitting, but a little lever that you push, and it just moves it back and forth, and I really like it. It's, again, this is the left-handed one. They make a right-handed one. I realize not everybody's left-handed, and so for you righties out there, they make a right-handed one. But this is the best. It's ergonomic, and it's one of the it's a true lefty, and I like that it doesn't have the button that I was always hitting on some of the other ones. Now you want to cut nice straight lines. Let me tell you, I start with my most basic. This is the Fiskars 6x12 ruler. It does all, and it's a little hard to see right now. Let me see if I can put it on something better. Here we go, because it kind of shows up. But it makes, this I use for almost all of my straight cutting because it covers everything. It's just fantastic. It does have lines so that you can do angled cutting, and so you don't have to buy all those other specialty rulers, because you can do 60 and 45 degree angles with this. It is just my basic workday ruler, and I love it. Now if I have to cut something longer, like the width of fabric or stuff, again, another Fiskars one, their nice pink one, 3x18, as you can see, and it goes both ways, so these are perfect. Both of these are perfect for lefties because they work either way, and you can read the numbers. So I really like them. This is, again, for my longer pieces. If I'm cutting something the whole width of the fabric or the width of my cutting mat, I just lay it on there, line it up on the line it needs to be on, and cut away. So that's how you get started cutting. Now, you might want to use scissors. Remember, pioneers, they didn't have rotary cutters and all these rulers. They were cutting by hand. We don't do that, but you're going to need some scissors. I have the complete, thanks to my husband, Kai set of left-handed. Now, the longer scissors, these are the, let me put that up there. The Kai Series 7000, and these are the 10.5 inch, and these are true left-handed. They're not ambidextrous, they're not flipped over righties, they're true lefties, and they are the best, most comfortable shears I have ever used. And then the smaller 8-inch ones, which I use when I'm cutting into curves and such on bigger pieces, also true left-handed. The smaller ones, which are the 5 and 4-inch, are ambidextrous. You can see they're not actually set up for either hand. But still, these are some of the best scissors I've had. On Amazon will be listed this, and these are the 5000 series because they don't make anything true left-handed except the large shears, but even the 5000 are just as good. I have the left and for the righties. I do have the right one up there on Amazon. These are some of the best scissors I've ever gotten, and that's why I have the entire set. Now you're going to start sewing, and you need a sewing machine. I have the Brother CS6000i computer, and it's got all kinds of stitches, and it's mechanical, so that makes it a little easier to adjust your tension and such. And this is, just your basic sewing machine. The only thing that's a problem is this throat is a little narrow, so it makes it a little hard to do machine quilting. We're hoping to get a bigger actual quilting machine one of these days. You're gonna want a Sew Steady table. As you can see, it's cut out so it slides on as an extension table, and you have this entire area then to support your project. Why this is so good is a couple of reasons. One, you're not working on this small space and then the weight of your quilt is over here pulling at it. It supports it better, and it keeps it flatter and more spread out, and so you're not bunching up. The other thing is, keep my clippers right here. That way they're under the table, under the project, instead of me having to dig through all the fabric to find them. You're going to want a pair of clippers. I have no idea what brand these are. I've had them forever, and I cannot figure out, there's no manufacturer's name on them, but they are the best clippers I've ever found. They've got clippers out there now that have like a thumb piece in them. I'd rip my thumb off with them, so I don't like those. But this best pair, I've had them for years. I don't even remember how long ago I got them. Best pair ever. But for cutting thread, if you're hand sewing, another gift from my husband, these are the Ginger Snips. Cannot say enough about them. They're a little heavy, but they work. They really work like a charm. They're perfect for cutting all those threads off as you're hand sewing, or as you're doing your binding and you find loose threads from your quilting, you can just cut those off. Now, those are some of the basics. As you get going, you're going to want to, of course, you have to mark if you need to mark your fabric, either to do your quilting or to cut templates. I prefer two different things. I like the disappearing ink pen. It really does disappear. You don't have to add water, anything like that. It just disappears over time. Only two problems with it. One, don't work on it. Don't use this on a rainy day because the humidity in the air causes it to disappear. And of course, it's purple, so you can't use it on darker fabrics. But for darker fabrics, I use the simple chalk. It's just this little case. You pop it off. It's got a thin line there that you just roll the chalk on. Now, the chalk doesn't disappear, but it does wipe off easily. Just get a wet cloth and wipe it off, and it goes wonderfully. Let's see. As you're moving along, you want to hold different pieces together. Say you've cut all your pieces, like you have 15 A's and 4 B's, and you don't want them to get lost. You can clip them together. I also use these to put my binding on. We're going to have a video on binding one of these days. They're better than pins because you don't get stuck. And they clip and they hold very well. These are just some basic ones. Again, these will be up on Amazon. But any clips, any quilt clips really work. And I highly prefer those over pins. You're going to be threading your needle. And if you're like me and your eyes are starting to go, you're going to want a needle threader, which is this nice little thing with with just some wire sticking out of it. And this one I prefer because it's lighted. So you've got a little light to help you see what you're doing. If your eyes are starting to go, it helps. Very nice little cheap thing that has made my life so much easier when sewing. Unfortunately, as you get sewing, you are going to make mistakes. This is why you need a seam ripper. There's all kinds of seam rippers out there. I've seen ones that basically look like a razor blade. I would slice my hand open. You go along and you just cut that. I'd kill myself. Really, I just slice something open. This is the best one I've ever found, the Combo Cut one. And that's because it's got tweezers on one end, so you can pull out those stitches that you need to. And then just the basic ripper on the end. And of course it slides back in so you don't stab yourself with the ripper. Okay. Best one I've ever found. I've had other people go, "Can I keep this?" And I'm like, "No, it's mine." It's a really great, the perfect tool. As you get going, you're going to want to be making binding. Now you can buy commercial binding, but that gets expensive because it only comes in 3-yard packs, and you can't pretty much bind anything with 3 yards. Even a baby quilt, I think, takes more by the time you get going around. So what do you need? You make your own. Plus, you're stuck with the colors that they manufactured in. What I like to do is you cut the backing, and then from the leftovers of the backing, I use that as the binding a lot. So I make my own binding. So you're going to want the Clover Bias Tape Maker Set binding. This does the single fold, but it's really great. I would buy the entire set because you never know what size you need, although I mostly use this size. This one gets a little small, and this is huge. So you kind of want to work with these two unless you're doing some very small projects. But again, even that small. Most of mine are the blue, and you cut a 2-inch piece to slide through. And again, I'm going to have a video on how to make binding very soon. So that's your the binding tools that you should have. Now, when you're binding, you want to have that smooth ending, beginning, corner bias things. And you can do this on your own, and there's all kinds of ways there's all videos about how to do it and everything. Get the Brilliant Binding Tool. Just get it by Debbie Wynn. Just get it. Again, not usually a fan of specialty rulers, but I bought this years ago and finally decided to try it, and I went, what was I thinking? It just made life so much easier. It's got the automatic cut, so that you can cut the ends of your binding, and then when you're trying to join them together, it gives you the spacing already. Debbie Went has a great video on YouTube that shows how to use it. It has made life so much easier. Just get it. It's worth it. If you're making your own binding, you're sewing your own binding, get this tool. It will make your life easier. Finally, if you're pressing, for whatever reason, I'm pressing a lot of butterflies right now, but you don't want to set up the ironing board all the time and having it basically take up residence in your living room. This is a nice little wool mat. Thick enough that you can just sit it. I sit it right here on my cutting mat, and my cutting mat is fine. It doesn't melt or anything. It doesn't go through. And you can just do quick pressing jobs right here. This is a wonderful tool, wonderful thing to have. Again, you can just do the small pressing jobs on it as you're going along. If you're working with flipped corners or whatever where you got to iron them down. My butterflies all need to be ironed when I'm done. Just whip this out and you iron them down, and it's great. And that is it for the basics. I think I covered everything. It is pretty much Again, it looks like a lot. You don't have to get everything all at once, although some of this stuff is really inexpensive. So the machine and the Sew Steady table, not so much. And if you're paying for good scissors, you're paying for good scissors, but they will last you a long time. But everything else is pretty inexpensive that you can, buy a few things every so often until you have what you need. And again, as you go along quilting, you'll know what you really need and what you can live without. And you just find your own rhythm. There are no quilt police. Nobody's telling you you have to do something. Really, all you need to quilt is a needle, thread, and some way to cut the pieces. That's really all you need. You don't need anything else. Remember, our pioneer ancestors walked across the Great Plains sewing. Don't ask me how. I would have fallen in a gopher hole on my face. It would have not worked. Walking and sewing, I just don't know how. For 3,000 miles. They could do it. So, again, you don't need all of this stuff, but it does make it easier. And it's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be a trek across the Great Plains. It's supposed to be fun. This makes it more fun and easier to do so you enjoy your project. Again, try your local quilt shops first and make friends with your local quilt shop. They will give you ideas of what to do. They will give you ideas of projects, of tools that work. I found out about the chalk at a local quilt shop class I was taking, and I immediately bought it because I was like, oh my God, it's the best thing ever for working on dark fabrics. You can see what it's doing. So try your local quilt shops first. If not, please use my Amazon links. And again, here is the QR code to all of my social media, to my web store. Please buy things. And because if you buy, or you buy me a coffee, or you buy something from my web store, that is able to keep me going and keep me doing these things. Also, subscribe to the videos. The more you watch, the closer it gets me to monetization, which again allows me to keep doing this. Again, thank you for your support so far. Let me know in the comments what your favorite quilting tool is, what you can't live without, or what you found from here that works. I always love to hear from people, and I do monitor the comments, so I will respond. So that's it, and I will see you next time.